Hey there, this is Mr. Icarus, and welcome to yet another edition of Doom Mod Madness. Feels like a while since I've seen a mod that replicates Doom 2016 gameplay in the wild. For a hot minute there was a whole bunch of them. You had Doom for Doom, Death Foretold, Zion. Felt like the bases were well and truly covered on that one. As the old saying goes, however, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and while checking out what was new, I came across Embers of Armageddon. Just to hammer the description home, Embers of Armageddon is a Doom gameplay mod that seeks to replicate the gameplay of Doom 2016 in OG Doom. Now this extends a little further than simply just importing the guns. There's also the issue of feel. Movement in Doom 2016 is demonstrably more weighty and purposeful than the OG, kinda slippy movement of classic Doom. And it's nice to see that Embers here nails that 2016 movement pretty much right on the button. On top of that, you've got double jumping as standard, not to mention mantling, which by virtue of its inclusion is almost guaranteed to break the flow of almost any map you choose to play it alongside. But even then, the choice is entirely up to you how far you decide to break things. It's well worth mentioning that Embers here does a wonderful job when it comes to the weapon sprites. The entire Doom 2016 single-player roster is present and accounted for, and each is animated beautifully. Not just in terms of firing and reload animations, but also the likes of mod swap animations. Embers also populates levels with various interactable elements that you may in fact recognize from Doom 2016 levels. You'll discover rune slabs giving you specific buffs, auto map terminals filling in the map, mod drones which you can grab weapon upgrades from, Argent containers, which will let you beef up armor, health, or ammo capacity respectively, and interestingly enough, downed UAC soldiers from which you can acquire upgrade chips. In fact, Embers of Armageddon goes surprisingly deep when it comes to the upgrade side of things. Naturally, you've got your swappable weapon mods, for example burst fire and grenade launcher on the combat shotgun, but once a mod has been acquired, you'll also unlock deeper sub-upgrades, much like the original Doom 2016, which take advantage of points gained via completion of certain things during the course of a level, be it the discovery of secrets, the acquisition of power-ups, or the dispatching of enemies in certain ways, all feeding back into helping improve your weapons. Probably what I enjoy most about this system is that it even brings in mastery upgrades, which require specific usage of the weapon mod in question to unlock its final ultimate upgrade. Gives you something a little extra to think about during combat scenarios where, sure, it may be more efficient to use a particular weapon to dispatch a certain crowd or type of enemy, but if you swapped it out now, you could then top off the mastery requirement for one of your other weapons. The thing that really ties this all nicely together, however, is the fact that so much of this is tweakable. It's not a one-size-fits-all type of progression system, so if you go into this knowing that you're probably going to have a shorter batch of levels than usual in your map set, you can tweak the upgrade drops to suit. Same in the opposite direction. It's such a nice feature to have, and I'd love to see it utilized across more mods, because nobody wants to hit the last levels with, say, half of a weapon roster, or even just a handful of upgrades, or even conversely, a full roster that's started to feel stagnant. It puts the balancing in the hands of the player. As for the raw experience of playing Embers of Armageddon, I took it for a whirl using Scythe 2 and had a pretty damn fun time. Personally speaking, I feel like I've always enjoyed the flow of Doom 2016's gameplay over the likes of Doom Eternal. It doesn't overcomplicate, it feels less rigid in what you can use and when, but if I'm going to be honest, one thing I will always hold Eternal over 2016 for is the decision to just get rid of the pistol. If you weren't really a fan of the pistol in 2016, then fear not. Scythe 2, and most other custom map sets for that matter, tend to shove a shotgun in your hand at the earliest possible opportunity. Seriously, even upgraded, the Doom 2016 pistol just feels unfun to use. Before I get too deep though, I will also mention that I supplemented this combination of mods with a little dash of Nashcore. Let's face it, there's precious few situations where Nashcore doesn't help enhance the overall experience, but in this particular case, especially when it came to the likes of glory kills, that extra bit of the red stuff is exactly what this kind of mod needs. Now normally at this point I do a fairly comprehensive rundown of the overall weapon roster for a mod such as this, but truth be told, if you enjoyed the weapon roster in Doom 2016, for the most part you'll know exactly what you're getting yourself into, save for maybe the super shotgun. It is hench. I mean, just powerful as heck, even before you've added any additional upgrades. Seriously, this thing can take out a Baron on average in around 3 shots, and sometimes 2 shots and a glory kill is all you need. Add fast reload and piercing ammunition to this thing, and my god, it decimates everything. I dare say it outright unbalances everything else just through its sheer OP nature. It's a shame really when you consider that almost everything else here on the roster is completely on point. Certainly doesn't hurt that the sound and the weapon feedback, the damage it does to enemies respectively, really does tickle the old satisfaction receptors. Personally, I knew Embers was doing a pretty damn good job when I got my hands on the old Gauss cannon. That thing, outside of maybe the super shotgun or the BFG, is one of my favorite things to fire. I'm a siege mode man. Just that sensation of planting your feet and bracing for that charged shot and seeing it just rip through multiple enemies is absolutely beautiful. A work of art. And why they replaced it with the ballista in Doom Eternal, I will never know. Implementation of the BFG and the chainsaw for that matter is pretty similar to how you'll remember it from Doom 2016, both with very limited amounts of ammunition and fuel respectively. The fuel, for that matter, can actually be upgraded with the Argent cells in the ammo category, whereas the BFG cell capacity cannot. Also, the BFG is just tucked in there with the rest of the weapon roster here, which did occasionally trip me up a few times. I recall back in 2016 the BFG was actually bound to its own dedicated separate key, ensuring, I imagine, that you didn't let off one of those precious shots by accident. Honestly though, outside of that super shotgun being far too buff for its own good, there's precious little wrong with Embers of Armageddon. It is honestly a rock-solid gameplay mod. Everything you could possibly want that replicates the gameplay of Doom 2016 is present and accounted for. Well, I guess aside from the enemies. I did try to fix that. There is an add-on for this mod specifically that brings the enemies in, but for some reason I think my version of GZDoom was conflicting with it, and for the life of me, I just couldn't get it to work. But yeah, highly recommended, and as I said earlier in the video, if you know how many levels you're playing with and you dial in the settings accordingly, it'll pace itself out appropriately, and you'll just get a nice sense of progression through the entirety of whatever you choose to play with it. In any case, it's been quite nice to dip back into Doom 2016 style gameplay. Been a long while since I last indulged, and if you feel like doing the same, you'll be able to find the link to this particular mod as usual in the description below. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments, and if you feel like helping the channel out beyond simply subscribing, I also have a Patreon, where from as little as $1 you can find yourself on this wonderful list of esteemed names, as well as gain access to early access editions of Mod Madness and whatever else I choose to cook up when available. Until next time, this has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.